Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I came across these two articles today and I have read both. It's very interesting, very thought-provoking articles. The first one is a New Straits Times. It's a column by Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, the former Vice Chancellor of University of Science Malaysia and now the Rector of International Islamic University. The title of the article is Redefining Academia's Role. So interesting that from the title, it implies that the role of academia need to be redefined. So, in what context and why we have to redefine the roles of the academia? So, we shall look at some of the points raised by the writer, Tan Sri Zul. The other article is also equally thought-provoking, and this probably, I would say, the possible game changer in higher education in the future in the light of the challenges of the uncertain future in the era of digital and artificial intelligence and the robot, the smart machine, and so on. So, but this is also related to the issue of changing the role of academia or redefining the role of academia from the article by Tan Sri Zol. So we shall look at these two articles and maybe you can highlight some of the points for discussion and for us to ponder upon together. So in this article, Tan Sri Zol actually uh, wrote about share about his thought based on the recent seminar that he attended, where the industries shared their views on what do they need in the future in the form of the talents that they require in order to fulfill the needs of the industry. And the argument, the first point that the writer highlight here, uh, first, the customer is always right and the industries know who their customers are. So according to Tan Sri Zol, if we put our attention on the value in terms of the monetary, in terms of what value can we get from the graduates and how they can serve the industry, the notion cash is king. So he said that the academia can be reduced to no more than a fake degree mill where academic credentials can be freely bought and sold. And the second observation that he put here is it is all about vying for market share because the way we look at the academia are the place where we can provide the talent or the graduates that can go out and serve the industry. So in this case, he said the academia is not just an assembly line operation in a factory to roll out human capital. If this concept is adhered to, the academia will automatically cease to be an intellectual beacon, one that is humanistic, socially engaged, and culturally enterprising. The third one, his point of argument, change is constant and it must be at the speed of light, so to speak, to beat the competition for an even bigger market share. So this is actually from the point of view of the industry. So if we go by this argument, he said, uh, for starters, the academia is rooted in values and virtues to approximately shine as an intellectual beacon. Devoid of this, knowledge can be vulnerable at the mercy of the unscrupulous, thriving on the cash is king paradigm. And the fourth is the turnaround time must be fast, no time to waste on study after study. The fifth is industries engage in real life problem solving, again in the name of market share and competition. So the argument from the writer's point of view that if we are being dictated by the needs of the industry alone, then the virtues of education would be, very narrow and very focused and being dictated by the needs of industry alone. So this is something that we might not want to do, because education is more than that. It's more than just providing for employability and to serve the industry. So this is the main point of argument from this article by Tan Sri Zulkifli. Well, if we, I would say that uh, there should be a synergistic, or the academia and the industry should be mutually inclusive rather than mutually exclusive. So let's say if we simplify this as a simple equation like this, and the bottom line is whether the graduates would find employability when they graduate, when they go out from the university. And let's say in order for the graduates to have high chances or opportunity to get a job, what would be the contributing factor? So when they are in the university, I mean the education from the school to the university, basically the purpose is to build an intellectual capacity. So this is actually a broad kind of goal for any good education system. That is to build intellectual capacity of the person. But um, of course, certain for when the in a when someone study in the certain discipline or in a certain academic program, so they should be able to achieve certain core competencies needed um, in order for them to perform competently when they go out and work. For example, someone doing engineering, let's say civil engineering, and they go out, they should be competent as a civil engineer. Someone doing medical or medicine, when they go out, they should be able to perform and competent as a medical doctor. And the same thing for other discipline as well. And let's say the good education also will provide the so-called humanistic education, the good values, ethics, and so on. So let's say these are some of the main or most important elements in order to produce the graduate that would have a competitive age, and that will be valued by the industry, for example, and therefore they will get chances to get the job is very high. But is it this simple, or is it more complicated? What are the variables that we can put in here in order to discuss about to discuss about what would be the best way to strike a balance between education, the idealistic uh, notion of education, and the pragmatic or the realistic situation when the graduates go out in the industry or go out in the marketplace or to get a job. So this is between the idealistic and the pragmatic and the realistic, something that we need to look at. So I guess if we start with our higher education blueprint in shift number one, it's already stated there that we want to produce a holistic and balanced graduate. But what does it mean by holistic and what does it mean by balance? Well, the bottom line is any good education system must be able to achieve in the future. This is what we call new skills the world is looking for in the fourth industrial revolution or the era of Industry 4.0. Leadership, digital literacy, communication, emotional intelligence, entrepreneurship, global citizenship, problem solving, and team working. So meaning that when we design the curriculum or any program that we offer, must be able to equip the graduates with all these elements or the new so-called new skills for the future, so that they will be future ready or future proof, some call it. And if we want to go more detailed, we can actually list a long list of so-called graduate attributes here. Master the subject domain, so the competency, ability to critically think and solve problems, ability to inculcate ideas succinctly, ability to communicate proficiently, ability to work collaboratively, creative, innovative, and resourceful, excellent interpersonal skill, adaptable, agile, resilient, highly motivated, digitally literate, enterprising, and having a global mindset. It's a long list of attributes that within the 4 years in the university, we expect to deliver this, we expect to develop this in our graduates. Is it possible? But whether we like it or not, the future is changing. The future is uncertain. If we only prepare our graduates for a specific skill set, would they be able to in the future, can they become an inventor, an innovator, creative entrepreneur, change maker, game changer, and groundbreakers, or social innovator? Can our education system prepare them to be this? So this is something that we need to really think about, and not to forget that any good education should not neglect or should not overlook this aspect of so-called humanistic competencies. They have a good moral values. They are ethical, emotional intelligence, social responsibility, mindfulness, empathy. These are the elements, the dimension that make someone human. So any education system, while we are talking about the kind of skill that would they would need to compete with a robot, to compete with a smart machine, but those machines would not have this competencies, the humanistic competencies that what differentiate or distinguish them from the robots. So we need to be mindful when we design our education system and the curriculum. All of these elements must be included or must be designed into our curriculum. So what kind of universities that can really develop and inculcate and instill all these things in our graduates? So this is something that this article probably might have some of the answers. This is really, to me, out of the box kind of model of university, and it could be one of the game changers in the future, where this university, which is a consortium of 17 European universities, are designing a different kind of educational approach, what they call it as a challenge-based university. So let's see some of the element here. It's a new education concept that they are trying to propose here, or they are trying to embark on. So you can see here, education will be based on solving challenges, embedded international mobility and collaborations among universities. Learners will get micro-credential for short, very specialized training courses, and competence passport, which will provide an individualized account of what each student has learned and the skills acquired. On the aspect of research innovation with regard to research and knowledge transfer, a series of living labs, it is interesting, living labs will be created in both physical and online spaces where university researchers will work directly with businesses and institutions in the definition and monitoring of projects. So they also put emphasis on the societal impact by using the problem solving approach. At the ECIU University, learners, students, researchers and employees from partner universities, partner companies and public organizations join forces across disciplines to solve problems. So as you can see here, it involved not the universities in partnership with the companies and also with public organization, and they kind of come together and work together to solve the problems. So knowledge is offered through relevant academic courses as and when needed, as well as through cutting edge research. So there's a combination of courses, just like in ordinary curriculum, but at the same time, there's also research. But the knowledge and the research is actually related to the problem or the big problem that they are trying to solve. And the necessary impact is generated organizing people from different disciplines and professions with different knowledge, skills, and experience. This will also foster global interaction among scientists, regional, and international stakeholders. So those are some of the points in this article about the new model, the new model of university that probably would provide some of the answers as to how do we design a curriculum and nurture the students so that when they graduate, they will have the kind of the skill to be able to um, become agile and become adaptable, and they would have the necessary competencies and skills to be able to serve the various stakeholders, including the industry, and they probably will be those groups that will come up with new technology, new bright ideas, new inventions, and so on. So that's about all that my kind of my thought on this article is about. How do we look at the future in terms of the graduate employability? How do we look at the future in terms of designing the curriculum that is relevant, and how do we kind of develop talents or graduates that would be future ready or future proof, meaning that they will be able to adapt to any situation in the future. That's all for now, and thank you very much.